Hey everyone, it's Corey with Sims Investment Management, and this is another monthly market update. And this month's might be a little bit longer. There's several topics that I want to talk about, just because there's been so much great, fascinating news that's come out this past month. A lot of great articles that I've read. I'm going to include several of them in resources below this. And the first one that I really want to touch on is the fact that the market made an all-time high on what was it, August 18th. So believe it or not, the market went from all-time high on February 19th. We went down 34% in 33 days. We then rattled off the 50 best days in the market ever. We had the 100 best days in the market since like 1932. And we went full circle all the way back to August 18th, so 6 months minus 1 day, to reach another all-time high. And what this proves is what we've been saying this whole time. You cannot time the market. I feel so sorry for the people that did try and time the market. And believe it or not, we're starting to get questions now. Oh, should we sell out now that we're back to an all-time high? When's there going to be another second dip? It blows my mind. It's kind of like children that keep burning themselves on the stove, and you want to wonder, why do you keep making the same mistakes? When are you going to learn the lesson? And so I just really encourage you, if you have questions on this, we're happy to answer it. If you know family or loved ones or friends that made these terrible mistakes and tried to time the market, please have them call us. That's what we're here for. We're designed to be behavior investment counselors. We just don't want to see the wealth destruction that happens when people try and time the market. The other thing that this proves is when when you look at this past several months, John Wooden, the great basketball coach, had a wonderful quote that said, "All of life is peaks and valleys. Don't let the peaks get too high and the valleys too low." And I think we've seen that a lot the past 6 months. There's been so many false prophets out there that keep trying to predict things. And this comes in many shapes and sizes, whether it be the economy or what's going on with the COVID. And I would just remind people, if these experts know so much about COVID now, or could predict what we're going to do in the next 3 to 6 months, why didn't they predict that we were going to have COVID in February? It just doesn't add up. And so Matthew 7:15 tells us, "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves." And I think we see that all the time with the false prophets. We're going to see a ton of false prophets when it comes to the election. There's a really great slide deck that's attached to this newsletter, and it talks about the upcoming election and what people try and make dire predictions if this person wins or if that person wins. And I've sent out a couple other resources on this topic the last couple of months, but I'm touching on it again because I keep getting the question. And if you actually look at the facts, it's quite fascinating. Again, that it does not matter who is in office. The market has found a way to power through for the past 100 years. And I love. Let's talk about false prophets. You had Mark Cuban, who so many people admire, on September 7th, 2016. "In the event Donald wins, I have no doubt in my mind the market tanks." If we go back to 2009, you had Michael Boskin, who's a head of economics professor at Stanford, that said, "Obama's radicalism is killing the Dow. Our new president's policies are designed to radically re-engineer the market-based economy." Neither one of those dire predictions came true. And the problem is the absolutes that people make about predictions, when they make these predictions, they just look foolish later, because 99.9% of them don't come true. And the crummy part about it is no one holds them on the red carpet. No one holds their feet to the fire and says, "Well, why did you make this prediction? And here's what you said, and where's the accountability for you to explain yourself or apologize?" And there are so many people that take that information and make life-changing decisions on it, and there's no accountability for the people that are feeding them that information. So I just want you to take that with a grain of salt. any type of predictions that you're going to start hearing people say about the market and what's going to happen with the next presidential election. My next kind of quick rant here is the fact that there's another great article that there's a link to that talks about the importance of understanding where you're getting your news from and how that can impact you. There is an unbiased news source that did a study with Gallup and with Franklin Templeton, which is a finance company. They have no skin in the game. They just are trying to poll people to get information. And it was quite fascinating when you looked at where people get their news from, what their political positioning is, and a couple other factors that they polled and how drastically different people think COVID is. So it's just a really fascinating piece, and I hope you get something out of it. My last message for you today has to do with when we look back at the past 6 months and how much worry, how much fear has been out there, and the fact that we are back to new all-time highs in the market. I'm just going to rattle off a couple quotes that I think are really fitting. Several of these come from Kevin Elko, who I've talked about in these videos before. Let's see. If you're angry, you're thinking about yesterday. If you're anxious, you're thinking about tomorrow. If you are at peace, you are thinking about today. What are you paying attention to? And he goes on a little bit further, and he goes into, the time is a coin of life. Be careful letting others spend it for you. And that was Lewis Carroll. And if we talk about just worries, right? Don't count the days, let today count. Don't let me use today's strength on tomorrow's problems. This can really be summed up with Matthew 6:27. Worrying won't add one more day to your life. So I hope you guys can take that, have some peace, and just trust, especially here with your finances, that the plan that we have in place, that we sit down and formulate with you, puts you in a really great position for long-term growth, and we will get through these peaks and valleys. Don't get too high, don't get too low, and call us or have anyone you know that's suffering from getting too high or too low so we can help them with their financial plan. Thanks, and we'll see you next month.